When it comes to the question of whether or not Anthem is too repetitive, I always find myself answering in a very similar, unsatisfying fashion. Yes and no. Yes, because every game that is inherently based on gathering more and more loot will always be repetitive to a certain degree. But no, because there is variety in how you are approaching what is essentially the same content in varying difficulty levels. Yes, because I don't know how accepting you are of grinding, and no, because the grinding can actually be really fun. The answer will probably always be the same. It depends. Naturally, the Anthem demo did not give us more but a vertical slice of content to show off the types of activities in the game, rather than trying to wow us with sheer volume. Making content is expensive, especially when everything you do has a narrative hook associated with it. The designers have to come up with new encounters and locations, the artists have to make a whole bunch of new assets, and the characters have to be given voices to tell the story. I have absolutely lost count of how often I heard Faye make the same joke in Anthem.
That's a lot of eggs.
You know what they say? You've got to crack a few eggs to make an omelette.
As much as I've lost count of how often I've been running Lexington in The Division. Games that are based on loot are inherently grindy and repetitive, and they hugely rely on personal gameplay variety to keep it fun and engaging, over constantly barraging the player with new content to clear. You may have killed this Swarm Tyrant a dozen times already, but have you killed it while playing as an Interceptor? Have you killed it while doing a full melee build? Have you killed it as a Colossus? Did you play it on hard mode, on Grandmaster 1 or Grandmaster 2? If you don't like the idea of approaching the same content in different ways over and over again, then yes, the game will be repetitive. But I can confidently say that I have good reason to be hopeful for Anthem to make this a fun experience for everyone who is down for that kind of gameplay. I already thought that I had seen a lot of the game when I went to check all the loot that I got in my 12 hours of playtime in the demo, but boy was I wrong. I have read so many comments with players telling me about Javelin builds and item drops that I haven't even seen yet. And all these things change your playstyle quite drastically. When I first run into a boss at the end of a mission and I'm struggling really hard to beat it on hard mode because I didn't know what was coming and my build just doesn't happen to be ideal for it, then it's even more satisfying to come back to it with a specialized solution to make this an absolute face roll and then proceed to crank the difficulty to do it all over again. It was fun for us to figure out the exact pathing and timings in Lexington to try and speedrun the hell out of it so that we can grind more loot as effectively as possible. And then we would be taking that loot and create different builds to do it even faster, even more efficiently, or maybe if we're feeling giddy, try to do it with a suboptimal build just to mess around and see what happens. Anthem has 4 different Javelin suits. Every suit has 3 to 4 abilities depending on your components, and every single ability can be changed to another ability. And then these abilities can be enhanced and comboed with each other. And then you can also combo different builds with your friends who also have a bunch of different ideas, and you can play off of each other and so on and so on. I am sticking to what I said in my last video. If you enjoy the core gameplay of Anthem, then there are many sins that you can forgive. Many problems that might not really bother you that much. Because honestly, there is a lot of fun to be had for those who are willing. Am I convinced that there's going to be a truckload of content that is going to keep us busy for a very long time before the next update brings new content? No. I'm not. In fact, I'm being very skeptical when it comes to the sheer volume of content that we can expect at launch. And I, honest to God, hope that I am wrong, because I have seen a lot of promise in the narrative of Anthem, and I really hope that the story missions are going to keep us engaged for a long time, desiring the next update that moves the story forward. More than hoping for an overwhelming amount of content, I desire variety in the content that is on display. I want every stronghold to feel meaningfully different so that choosing which one we want to clear on Grandmaster 2 and 3 makes a significant difference. I would very much prefer 5 dungeons who all feel completely unique over 15 that reuse assets over and over again. I want the content that we play through to reflect the variety that we have in the Javelins themselves. Because let me assure you, a Storm plays nothing like a Colossus, and a Colossus plays nothing like an Interceptor. And even within those Javelins, your gear can make all the difference when it comes to how you approach a battle compared to other pilots using the same model. Having the right combination of Javelins or components can make a really difficult encounter really easy. But having the wrong combination combination can also make a simple encounter much more annoying than it has to be. There is a certain amount of trial and error involved in approaching content that you either haven't had a chance to research ahead of time or chose not to spoil yourself on. As the comments were so quick to point out, a single ability can make all the difference when it comes to how easily you can deal with very specific problems in front of you. Alright, they gotta calm down with the whole stunning and spawning enemies thing. Like, what the fuck is this? I physically cannot move. The fun comes from mastering the content that is on offer rather than always expecting everything to be new. If you are the type of player that only enjoys playing a single Javelin with a very specific playstyle and everything else does not appeal to you, then sure, you might get a kick out of overcoming the struggle of running a suboptimal build in certain situations, but it is much more likely to get boring for you than for somebody who really enjoys approaching problems from different angles. So everything really comes down to your desire of wanting to acquire more items and your willingness to repeatedly clear the same content. I don't think that repetitiveness is a fair argument to leverage against Anthem in light of the fact of what it is trying to achieve as a loot-based game, and especially considering how much gameplay variety was already on offer in the demo alone. According to the comments I've read, players have made widely different experiences from me depending on what Javelin they decided to go for, what components they chose, and how many friends were in on the action. So I am feeling confident in saying that yes, even just based on the demo, Anthem is indeed not too repetitive. But hey, that is just my humble opinion. God knows that people love yelling at me for even having one. So feel free to add to the discussion by leaving a comment down below. While you're down there, don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing if you want to see more, and I hope to see you guys next time.